Thank you for having us on the program. Cindi.
Cindi, sorry.
Thank you.
A question for you, I guess, is your thoughts at this time, because everybody has their memories and their experiences of Madiba. What was your immediate reaction when you heard the news, and what had been going through your mind these past 7 days?
Well, naturally, you receive the news with sadness. I mean, sadness in the sense that it's someone whom you've met, who's touched your life one way or the other. For me, it was losing Omat, as we affectionately called each other. Omat arose from our experience on the island. We were next door neighbors, if you can use that expression, because it was Mlangeni's cell, then I followed, then it was Madiba's. So in that sense, we're neighbors. And it brought memories back of how we engaged with each other on the island. It's an experience of, well, I met with them 4.5 years almost, because nearly the entire length of my prison sentence, I spent with him and his colleagues, Abom Gov, Abom Ray and others. The interesting thing is that we always jostled. Okay, there was a time when he said, "Oh, you actually young enough to be my grandson." And I said, "Well, if we consider age, that would be true. But remember, I'm a political animal, you're a political animal. You were president of the ANC in Transvaal. I'm the general secretary of us. Then it was not ASAP, it was BPC, Black People's Convention, nationally. So that level were equals. And that's where they said, okay, Omat. That's how then we converse going forth. And socially and politically we engaged. Okay, we had differences on interpretation and so on. But what's amusing me or brings memory to me, well, he had a problem with his foot, which I suppose many picked up. But at some point, we teased him and said, "Madiba, you've been reading all these books about royalty. Now you are taking that gate of royalty." And I mean, that was just a private joke we had on the island. We engaged on a number of issues. Well, he was an avid reader, like I said. I mean, most of the time he would be having a book, reading on royalty. I think there was a book that he always followed, the Moroccan dynasty and empire. I don't know what was fascinating to him about that, but he read that quite a lot. And naturally, you stay with each other cheek by jowl for 4.5 years, so you tended to do most things all the time. I'm sure people know the typical day. You wake up in the morning and do your own ablutions, and then from there you'll sit in the courtyard. But before we joined him, I came from a section which was then a D section. They called it then the Klephoyer section. Right. Because we came with the avalanche of the 1976 activists coming from the SASO PPC trial. And so we were kept there, and one by one we were being cleaned as being the troublemakers. For some strange reasons, I remained almost to be the last with two of my other colleagues, the Musiwal Kota and Nkwenkwenko. And then for some reason, then I was taken to join the B section, which is the elderly. And I was then dubbed the young oldie, because I was young and they were old. I mean, I met Mr. Mandela, I was about 26, he was about 58, give or take, somewhere there. And conversation would naturally be learning more about what drove them to do what they did. And at the same time, it would be like understanding what is happening outside there. Okay.
What was your view of Madiba before you went into jail, and how did it change after the experience of him?
Well, our view would be one that we emulate, that someone that we look up to. If I may just share with you, Peter, when we grew up, the name Mandela was spoken in hushed tones, any household and so on. I remember my stepfather one time when the security branch were looking for me. He wouldn't tell me what. I said, you know, that kind of thing. What are these? Yeah, we are going to enter the Congolese. Yeah. Now, I mean, I was a BCM activist. There's a Congress movement, but I mean, I understood that. Okay, he means political. Yeah. We kind of like the people that we upheld, and we means no bones about that. I mean, we mobilize people on the basis that we need to liberate them, take them out of the. The first point would be they should not have been jailed in the first place. There was no reason for them to be jailed. I mean, they're standing for their own human, inalienable universal rights. That's the first take. And that was cemented by the charges. Remember, one of the charges proffered against us was to say for eulogizing people on Robben Island and denigrating Bantustan leaders. That's how we got in. Probably 2 years down when we were on the island, slight change. There was a big hive or frenetic activity about the late George Matanzima coming to visit. And we divided. Well, we basically made our points that, no, there's no way we're going to meet. Well, then Mr. Mandela, they said, look, it's okay, I can understand political, but there's a family tie. We said, well, if we all can look at family ties, because some of us
you can't choose our relatives.
Exactly, you don't choose your relatives, but all the same, we came here because, among other things, we're denigrating Bantustan leaders. But if you are going to meet him, then we will no longer be on talking terms. And I think that was basically that kind of a thing where we just had that point of difference. But interestingly, that the majority of the other revolutionaries share the same view or sentiments with us. That's the only time when we basically would have said, okay, we do that. Apart from our living together, sharing everything, social moments. I suppose you're keen to know what we did every day. We would wake up, engage in sports. But remember now, 26-year-old playing against a 58-year-old tennis, it was a no game, I mean.
Yeah. How do you think the island changed him?
Changed him in what sense?
People talk about a maturing that took place.
Well, I heard this, I don't know, last week or so, someone saying, well, someone making a comment that, well, it changed. I'm not sure whether it changed him. I think someone was making a contrast that, well, in the 40s or 50s, he was a vibrant, and then on the island, he was mortified, and then, well, let's put it this way. As you grow with age and circumstances change, you adapt to those circumstances. I'm sure with some of our young people in the Black Conscious movement now, I'm a moderate. But 40 years ago, I was an activist. So then when we were activists, the generation of Mandela and the others, we felt that they were moderates. So I'm not sure whether I would say it's a prison that changes you. I'm saying it's an era. It's an epoch you go through.
A function of age.
Exactly. And then, of course, the era as well. I mean, it's in the 21st century. The activism of the 21st century is far different from the activism of the 1960s and the 70s. It will be far different, and it will go from a different level or different plane. That's basically it. But as to whether that changed Mandela, I'm not sure. I wouldn't know.
As a young man...
I'm older now.
What would you say were the greatest learnings that you got from Madiba?
Well, one of the greatest learnings, he had compassion. I think he had compassion. He would say this probably jokingly, but I think there was sincerity when he would say, look, it pains me that I should be here incarcerated with people who should be my grandchildren, I should be telling you stories and so on, but I would not do that. Again, there was an issue where we had differences or strategy. I would call it a strategic approach. We came into the prison on the island, defined as ever. We left the island defined as ever. Now, any prison, most prisons have got the system of classification, grading you on the basis of behavior. We argue that, no, look, we are revolutionaries. We cannot be determined by our enemies or protagonists who say that this is how we should behave. And so what I'm getting to is that with that classification, then it gave you privileges, whether you could buy biscuits and so on. And felt that should not be. We should all fight that anyone who comes in here should actually enjoy those things. I'm saying that's where there was a slight difference. And he felt bad that he would be enjoying those biscuits and I would be sitting there and saying, no, but I'm not going to partake of those biscuits. We call them niceties at that time. Yes. So those are kind of, I think I would see, like I'm saying, it was genuine empathy on his part. I mean, he had compassion, say, look, it feels bad, but I respect your decision to do those things. And of course, well, we enjoyed ourselves creatively, made a meal of the drab prison grab. And here we are, back out on the thing.
All right, so we're going to take a pause for thought and take a few messages and then cross to our reporter who's at Union Buildings. But let's first take a look at some of the messages that have been coming through, some of your tweets, and see what's on your mind. Let's take a look at those tweets. Well, first of all, there's some condolences messages that have been coming through. One from Olias Lotta from Tanzania, who says, you were the voice of the voiceless, the most disciplined leader on earth. You demanded freedom without war. You hated racism. We will always remember you, Papa Mandela. God grant you blessing now and then. Long live Madiba. Another one from California in Pasadena, that's TK Mhlongo, who says, to the Mandela household, I personally thank you for grooming and sharing our African Moses through your strength as a family. I myself as a citizen remain forever grateful. God bless you. And another message there at the bottom coming from Madoda Clive Kozo, who says, the hero, the legend, the heaven sent, the father of South Africa, I will indeed be missed by all of us. I am kind today because of you, Tata. Will always be in our hearts. Love you always till we meet in heaven. And that's Madoda Clive Koza. Also from Sam Mtaung in Maseru, Lesotho, says, Mandla Mandela and your family, be blessed. This loss is for the entire world. You must be blessed. We say to Tata, goodbye, Madiba. And let's, this is Nico writes to us and says, oh, words cannot describe how I feel right now. Tata, I so wish I was there to say goodbye to you. You have made me so proud to be proudly South African. May your soul rest in peace. I've learned a lot from you. Lala Ngokolo, Tata Mkulu. From Vincent, legends never die. We may lay your body and your bones to rest, but your works and words shall live on. Rest in peace, Tata. You'll always be in our hearts and in our minds. Right, thank you very much indeed for those condolence messages, and we'll continue to read those messages through the course of the day. And don't forget, at SABC News Online is where you can leave those messages. A quick connection to Lebo Tinana, who's at the Union Buildings for another update. Lebo?